Hey there, it's Rob Ryder on Saturday, January 23rd, 2021. So let's stop paying residential real property tax, right? Because you, if you own property, have personal interest, or you have interest in real estate, which is personal property, not the title. The title of the property, the real estate, is with the state or the United States. Because at some point back in the day, they took them all back. And now you get a certificate of title or an abstract or some other document, but you don't have the title. So even though you may have a document that says you have fee simple title, actually when you look at the document, it doesn't really have your name on it. It has a thing they made up using parts of your name, like Robert A. Rutluski, comma, a single man, grantee, something like that, right? Will be the thing they say has fee simple title. Well, that isn't you because your name isn't, doesn't have a middle initial, doesn't have a comma, doesn't have an addition, and so forth and so on. And these are some of the schemes that Esquires use, right? So warning, Esquires using counterfeited state tax forms, professionals, and simulated legal process will conspire to convince you otherwise. They will convince you that you owe that tax. And, if you let them do it, well, then you're going to lose. You've already lost, right? You just gave up your sovereignty because you didn't protect your rights. So this is all about the fact that it's not the state foreclosing on you or anyone for any reason to do with property taxes, right? Because it's not the state doing it. It's Esquires using counterfeited state tax forms that are doing it to you. And then they use professionals, as their witnesses or whatever they need, and they simulate a legal process. And they got one Esquire sitting down there and down in the galley, and one sitting up at the bench. They both work for the same members of the same union. I wonder how that's going to go for you. And the guy sitting at the bench, as the judge, hasn't taken the oath to satisfy the 6th article of the Constitution of the United States. And the oath he filed that's supposed to be the state constitutional oath is a counterfeit. So, he's not a judge of a state court. We've just been brought up to think that that's what these things are, and they're not, right? And the ones doing it are Esquires, and, AKA lawyers and attorneys, as you want to call them, but whatever it is, they were woed by Jesus numerous times in the Bible. We should take that to heart. And so we will. Saturday, January 23rd, 2021. I know there's a lot to talk about in D.C., but the problem started in the township, right? We need to spend a little time fixing the records in the township so that we're seen as electors in the township. And all this has to do with the fact that the land records in the township have errors and omissions in them, and they don't show you as the owner. And your name isn't on the assessment roll as a person because they have person taxes like road taxes and so forth, right? By not doing the paperwork right at the local government level is depriving us of our due process rights. And that's what's happened in this case here. I'm going to show you with Dana. And, if they don't get their head out of their ass, well, we're going to call 911 and make it an emergency and say it's a constitutional issue. See how that goes instead of just waiting to go to court and see what the judge has to say. Now, let's make it an emergency and call in the sheriff. So, let's see where we go. Okay, hey, my email address is quarterrecord@AOL.com, phone 616-712-6179. Your donations do keep the lights on, so if you can, please donate to Rob Ryder at AOL.com is my PayPal account, or ask me for send me an email and ask me for an invoice for X number of dollars, and I'll send you one through PayPal. You can use a credit card. You don't have to have an account then. You can just use your card. Or you could put it in the mail to Robert Allen Rutluski, 10955. 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341. Hey, let's not wait for Q to save you. If you own property, right, you can go save yourself. And really, you have to. This doesn't matter if you're not in foreclosure or you're not late on taxes. Just the fact that you're paying the taxes is because somebody's counterfeiting a legal process, right? So you need to go tell them to stop. And so I've been talking about this for a number of videos now, right? Now I'm on my 4th video about this thing with the taxes. And during this, I've been using Dana Reed Smith's paperwork as my examples, right? And so in this counterfeiting property tax, I had shown that that's exactly what they're doing with one of their forms, at least. And now, a week later, well, now I can show you 2 or 3 other forms that they're counterfeiting, which is what I plan to do just as soon as I get loaded up here. So give me just a second. Before I do that, I wanted to point out, has anybody else seen this? Where Lauren Boebert, she's the new rep from Colorado, says the House was told to go home. Next week's schedule is canceled. Biden made it clear he can run the country with his pen. Congress is no longer necessary. Well, who told the House to go home? Did Biden do that? Because, if he did, then he adjourned the House under Article 2, which is one of his powers. But then, they can't come back until he lets them. He adjourned the House. I mean, there's only, by Article 1, I think there's only 1 day or 1 week in December that they have to meet. Other than that, they don't have to, there doesn't have to be a Congress. And Biden just sent them home. Well, in that case, how are they going to impeach Trump? Right? How are they going to bring charges on Trump on Monday if Congress has been adjourned? So I guess we'll find out on Monday, but I just thought that was quite an interesting turn of events. Okay, and another thing to remember is as I go through this, I'm going to be talking about forms that come from the Michigan Department of Treasury website, local government official forms. So you would have to believe that they're official, then these are the forms the local government has to use to do what it's going to do. And as I'm going to show you, I'm sure it's the same in every state. There's not, these people lie, cheat, and steal at everything they do. So it's not hard to find their lies, their cheating, and their stealing. What's hard to find is what the hell to do with it. Well, again, we should be using our local government, but because of these errors that come about because of, errors and omissions in official records, we're not seen as even being in the United States, right? It's like everything's abandoned property. We're a squatter occupant, not you, right? You're a squatter occupant on your own property, as I'm about to show you. So hang on a second. Okay, so, if you're in Michigan, you're in luck, because that's what I'm doing this on. So you can just go get these papers and see for yourself, right? But for any state, it isn't that much different, So this here is a quitclaim deed, as it says. The other thing that they would use in Michigan is a warranty deed. So if you believe you own property, you have something like this, right? And if you had this document and your last tax bill, that'd be enough to see the beginnings of where all the Scrivener errors, as they might want to call it, or, flat out counterfeiting, as I like to call it, because that makes it a crime. And now, you can call it an emergency and say it's an emergency because it's a crime, right? And, but on either case, right, it's going to have some kind of thing that shows it's been registered in the, registered deeds office. That's what they use here in Michigan. And that's going to have this sticker on it, which is a real estate transfer tax stamp, right, for state of Michigan. And if you were to read into the law far enough, you would see that this thing is actually supposed to be canceled, much like a postage stamp, right? And they want you to believe that this little squiggle here is the initials that they talk about in the law that need to be on there, which says you have to put the initials and the date. And they're, just the initials. But the initials aren't in the stamp, right? They're outside the stamp. The stamp ended right here at these stars. So, somebody was charged for this money, but the money never went to the state of Michigan or wherever it was supposed to go to, right? It got put into an account. It's still sitting there. They never, finished the deal. But in that, it showed then that some grantor, using a fictitious name, James T. Brown, right, quitclaimed to some person to whomever, Dana R. Smith, which isn't anybody's name. Dana is Reed Smith is Dana's name, but to a fictitious entity. That's what I'm talking about, right? So Dana Reed Smith really isn't on this deed, right? Dana R. Smith is. Now, if Dana Reed Smith had wanted to do business as Dana R. Smith, then Dana Reed Smith was supposed to go to the county and get a what do they call it? A assumed name certificate, I believe is the proper name in Michigan, to say, hey, I'm going to be doing business as Dana R. Smith, and register that name with the county. So they would know, well, who the hell is Dana R. Smith when push came to shove. But they have it set up so you really can't do it the way it's supposed to be done, right? Actually, you're supposed to have two different transactions, and they cost X number of dollars, and instead they want to do it as one transaction and charge you $1 less. So they don't follow the law when they do that. And again, that's just the way this is. They don't ever follow the law. But nevertheless, Dana R. Smith is supposed to be the grantee, right? And this is apparently the legal description, ending with this section number. But when we look at a tax bill for that property, right, it's is assessed to Smith Dana R. Well, that isn't the name on the frickin' thing. It's Dana R. Smith with a period, even if we're going to get down to the jots and tittles, right? So no, that isn't the name. How come it's in his name? And then look at, they've added this, where it says included, they added that to the legal description. So it's like whoever this is put their fence on top of Dana R. Smith's property as Smith Dana R. And now they want you to pay this property tax. Well, that isn't, again, that's not the name that Dana bought this in. And it's not the legal description of the property that he bought. And this and I showed some of my previous videos, you'll see that this property description is wrong, the address is wrong, it's all wrong. It's all wrong. But it didn't stop them. They did it anyways, right? That they didn't seem to care that it was wrong. They continued on. And so what they did eventually is they sent Dana now this is what they were supposed to send him, right? A notice of show cause hearing and judicial foreclosure hearing using this Michigan Department of Treasury form, which comes off of this website here, right? It's on this website. It exists in this form 4264. But what they gave him was, it has that number on there, but they have altered the form. They've counterfeited the form. And it no longer has the information on it that this form has, which specifically, it doesn't have the additional interest holders anymore, but it does have a interest holder. So who do they have the two to, right? The interest holder, isn't Dana Reed Smith. It's not Smith Dana R. It's not Dana R. Smith. It's Dana Smith with a number on top. So this whole box here, right, this whole thing here, is the interest holder. Well, that's not Dana Reed Smith, and it's not Dana R. Smith. It's not any of these other folks, and yet, there it is, or they put it on there. Then who's the additional interest holders, right? They took the whole thing off. And so I went into this much more detail in my last video. I'm just saying, from the very beginning, from the very first piece of paper they put in, they counterfeited a frickin' state form. That should be enough. So we took this, because, I talked about this in the last video, and we contacted the Blue Lake Township, right? Again, Dana's doing all this. I'm coaching him on. He's doing all the work, but this is what we said, that Form 4264, sent by Kalkaska County Treasurer, the first attachment, is a counterfeit of the form required by the Michigan Department of Treasury, the second attachment. See the section for the Michigan Penal Code below. What is happening is either a felony or an intentional tort for which I demand damages. So in the Michigan Penal Code, under MCL 75248B, making, altering, forging, or counterfeiting document affecting interest in real property, intent, felony, penalty, exception, A person who falsely makes, alters, or forges, or counterfeits a deed, discharge of mortgage, or a power or letter of attorney, or other document that affects an interest in real property, like a tax form, with the intent to injure or defraud another person. Well, apparently that's what they're trying to do. There's no other reason for them doing it. Well, then is guilty of a felony, punishable by imprisonment for not more than 14 years. We're not playing around, right? This isn't a misdemeanor. This is a felony with a 14-year prison sentence. Or it's a Scrivener error. Right? I don't know, but that's your two choices. And if it's a Scrivener error, well, then it's an intentional tort. You got to pay me the per occurrence general liability insurance payment, of $1 million or $2 million, whatever the hell it is. The township is a district of the United States and can be protected by the United States Armed Forces. Yes, it can, right? This is the thing. The township is the organic division of the United States. It was here before there was a state, before there was a county, right? It was the original jurisdiction, the township. And the township supervisor has a gold fringe flag in his office, which is an Army flag. So anyways, the township is a district of the United States and is protected by the United States Armed Forces. All you have to do is call, and the military will lend a hand restoring the republic. So what I'm trying to tell the supervisor is you don't have to know what to do about this other than call in the frickin' Army and say, dude, we got a problem. Yeah, we had already sent them these other documents that there's errors in the records and so forth, but we're amping up the pressure. So the township is a district of the United States and can be protected by the United States Armed Forces. All you have to do is call the military. We'll lend a hand restoring the republic. Not doing so is to encourage and allow this type of criminal activity to fester in our republic in its time. And that is a crime as well. Fix it today. You can call me and anytime, phone number. Or email me here. I'm not looking for an answer. I'm looking for an answer today. No question the law has been broken. Criminals are unlawfully taking property that does not belong to them while voluntarily violating due process rights protected by our Constitution. I'm available to swear an oath to my statement under penalty of perjury. Actually, you're available to swear a sworn statement under oath, right? A affidavit is not evidence. An affidavit is an oath rendered to writing. A sworn statement has an affidavit in it, but it's not an affidavit. It's a freaking sworn statement. Sworn statements are testimony. Testimony is evidence. Evidence is what you need in a court case. You don't need an oath in a court case. You need evidence. And people keep putting in oaths, affidavits. So remember, it's a sworn statement, right? It says in the Michigan compiled laws, again, I've showed it for the township supervisor, that he can take your statement under oath. Well, it's a sworn statement then, right? It's not an affidavit. It's a sworn statement. So anyways, and then we found that was all based on this document. Well, and then we found more that are wrong. So that's what the rest of this is about, right? That from the very first form they put in, they're counterfeiting these state tax forms. So let me show you a few more. Hang on just a second. So here's another official form, right? This is the official petition form to use for foreclosure. And, it says they're issued under the authority of MCL 21178H, which, this is all comes out of this redemption section of the law. And I want to say this before I go any further, right? In the very first section of this, 21178A, it says, right, it is the intent of the legislature that provisions of this act relating to the return, forfeiture, and foreclosure of property or for delinquent taxes satisfy the minimum requirements of due process required under the Constitution of the state and the Constitution of the United States but that those provisions do not create new rights beyond those required under the State Constitution 1963 or the Constitution of the United States. The failure of this state or a political subdivision of the state to follow a requirement of this act relating to return, forfeiture, foreclosure of property for delinquent taxes shall not be construed to create a claim or cause of action against the state or political subdivision of the state unless the minimum requirements of due process accorded under the State Constitution 1963 and the Constitution of the United States are violated. Well, it's a violation, so what? So I guess what I want to say is then, well, what's the due process, right? United States Constitution law due process clause is found in both the 5th and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution, which prohibits arbitrary deprivation of life, liberty, or property by government except as authorized by law. So there you go. I'm saying they're violating due process because the township is the place I'm supposed to petition about this crap that's happening, you know, where they're simulating the legal process and acting like they're the state taking property as under foreclosure, right? And it's the township I'm supposed to go to get redress of grievances. But the township's apparently been vacated. So if the township won't do it, then the idea is that, well, then it's time to call in 911 and say it's a due process violation by the, in this case, Blue Lake Township. Or the state of Michigan. So, okay, let's go look at those other forms that are counterfeited. Yeah, hang on a second. So this is the petition that they put apparently into Dana's case, where they put all the property being foreclosed in the one court case, which is under this file number, Honorable Hunter, whoever that is, apparently. Right? It says, I'll take a minute to read it. It says, Petitioner, Kalkaska County Treasurer. Petitioner is the foreclosing government unit for Kalkaska County and files its petition, And then it goes on to say, Exhibit A remains unredeemed after forfeiture to the Treasurer of Kalkaska County. Well, I thought it was Kalkaska County Treasurer. Right now it's Treasurer of Kalkaska County, and this is what Esquires are known for, is switching the names of things. So where it could be County of Kalkaska, it could also be Kalkaska County, right? It could be State of Michigan, could be Michigan. Could be City of Kalkaska, could be Kalkaska City, you know, so forth and so on. It's just the things they do, although Kalkaska isn't a city, I don't believe. It's just a village. And then it goes on, And at the end, right, it's signed by a private attorney firm. Right? Attorneys for Petitioner, Kalkaska County Treasurer. Well, a foreclosing government unit doesn't have its own private attorney. It's supposed to, you know, the county government's supposed to use the county prosecutor. Right? So why are they using a private attorney? Well, it's because this document here is simulating a legal process. Now, they don't have a court number or a number at the top, but the number for that form is 3727, right? This is the petition for foreclosure form and the forms that come from the state treasurer's website. So if they're not using these forms, you know, just the way they are, then there's a counterfeit. And where is that thing? There it is. All right, so if you notice this one here, right, it says at the top, State of Michigan in the circuit court for the county of Kalkaska. This form doesn't have anything on there about State of Michigan, right? It's just in the circuit court for the county of, and it should be Kalkaska. And the way it's set up on this particular form, right, on the official form, a judge is supposed to be signing it. Blank County Circuit Judge, right? So Kalkaska County Circuit Judge, Honorable whoever, Kalkaska County Circuit Judge, supposed to sign this form. And yet they have a private attorney signing the form. Well, he's not a judge of Kalkaska County, so who the hell is he? Right? Busted. I don't know what else to tell you. I don't need to look for any more. It's just wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. This is the official petition by the Michigan Department of Treasury. And this is the petition they're putting in, which is simulating, counterfeiting that it's the official petition. So, yeah, there are all sorts of errors in this thing. I don't really want to go through them all, but, if you put them next to each other, you can pretty soon be lining out things yourself, saying, well, this is different, this is different, this is different. I don't have to know why they're different. They're just different. It's not the same damn form. So it's not the official petition, therefore I don't have to answer to it. Or Dana doesn't have to answer to it. But that's fine. But I want to say beyond that, I don't want it just dismissed. I want them prosecuted for simulating the legal process, for counterfeiting state tax forms. That's the only way these people are ever going to stop. Now, another thing that was supposed to happen is there were supposed to be these certificates of forfeiture of real property that were supposed to be filed with the Register of Deeds. Right? That's this thing up here. But so we got a document. It's got this number on it, and received, recorded, State of Michigan, Kalkaska County. And then it goes on, Joanne DeGraff, Register of Deeds, recorded in Kalkaska County, Michigan. So it's like it was recorded twice. Right? It was recorded, State of Michigan, Kalkaska County, Joanne DeGraff, Register of Deeds. That's one recording. And then it was recorded in Kalkaska County, Michigan. Well, where the hell are those records? This has been recorded in two different jurisdictions, in other words. And then on this form, when you start looking at it, the property ID is incorrect. They have that Smith Dana R. is the owner. Well, what record did that come from? Because they don't ever show you any of this stuff. And they've added this addition on here, right? They put their fence on Dana's property. So he's got three different pieces of property. All got the same problem. So hang on. Okay, one more thing. Or one more big thing. So hang on here. Okay, so then also, this is all coming out of the same law. This is all under the redemption section, which is redemption and annulment. 78, whatever it ends up going to. I can't remember. Or this is all 78. I think it's just different sections like A, B, C, D, and E. Right? So, yeah. So what it said in the law, right, was this is just after the show cause hearing, right? Show cause hearing, that's over now. Dana didn't go, right? Because we're not acting like it's giving them any legitimacy. While they were doing this, we're going to the township and saying, hey, this is a crime. Do something about it. We're calling 911, right? Because until they have the foreclosure hearing, which is, scheduled for some time in February, we don't have to, do anything other than complain administratively. If that doesn't seem to do any good, well, then go see the judge, right? Don't not go see the judge, but we didn't have to go to the hearing because none of these people are who they say they are. But what they were supposed to do, is they're supposed to put in all these different documents, right? Petition for foreclosure, proof of service, filing with the circuit court, contesting validity or correctness by a person claiming property interest. That could be us. Filing objections with withholding property from foreclosure, so forth and so on. But what it said is if a petition for foreclosure is filed, which it was, not later than the date of the hearing, the foreclosing governmental unit shall file with the clerk of the circuit court proof of service of the notice of the show cause hearing under 78J, proof of service of the notice of foreclosure hearing under this section, proof of personal visit to the property and publication under 78J or 78I. There's all sorts of things that are supposed to be done. So Dana went to look to say, well, what did they put in? Right? And they put in this piece of paper here, which, is a made-up piece of paper. It's not the official form because they do have one. This is the official form here, and this official form is an affidavit. Right? This is what they are supposed to have filed. Michigan Department of Treasury 296, proof of notice of administrative show cause hearing and judicial foreclosure hearing affidavit. This form is issued under the authority of Public Act 206 of 1893, MCL 21178K. Well, you don't see any of that on this thing, right? This is just something somebody threw in to simulate, counterfeit this document. Now, on top of that, what this proof of service is just the point about, we're going to talk about having to do a proof of personal visit to a property and publication under 78I, right? That's what this thing is. That somebody came out to the house. But it isn't the other ones. There's like 4 different things that have to have been filed. And they only filed one. Can we read this thing? Let's see. Under some provisions amended, right? Now, this says the County of Kalkaska as the foreclosing government unit. I thought it was supposed to be Kalkaska County. But now he says it's County of Kalkaska. Is in the process of foreclosing title to certain parcels of real estate. Well, we don't have title, we have interest. I certify as set forth each parcel on the attached list as to which I am identified as examiner, personally visited the property on the date indicated to determine the property was either vacant, occupied, or abandoned structure or unoccupied structure. If the property was occupied structure, I attempt to personally serve the occupant of the notice of show cause hearing and judicial foreclosure hearing. If able to personally contact the occupant as indicated for such parcel as attached, I orally inform the occupant that the property will be foreclosed unless forfeited taxes, interest, and penalties and fees are paid to the Kalkaska County Treasurer before the final foreclosure date. Sample copies of the documents provided to the occupants are posted on the premise are attached here too. You know, blah, blah, it's just the guy who's doing the home visit, right? That only takes care of one of the 4 things that are on here or that are required by the law. Right? No later than the date of the hearing, the foreclosing government unit, whoever that is, shall file with the clerk of the circuit court proof of service of a notice of show cause hearing, proof of service and notice of a foreclosure hearing, proof of service or proof of personal visit to the property and publication under 78I. I don't think they did that. Okay, hang on just 1 second again. Okay, so again, on the counterfeited petition, it says that the petitioner is Kalkaska County Treasurer. But on the proof of service this guy put in, he said that County of Kalkaska is the foreclosing government unit. So you can't play it both ways. It's got to be one or the other. And, actually it's neither because none of these people are using the proper name or whatever you want to call it for their office. And they don't have a proper oath of office. And, this shows it was filed with the county clerk, but this doesn't show it was filed in a court case. Right? Where's the file stamp that was put into this court case? So there's just all sorts of errors, right? That I'll get more into detail with Dana as we go along. But I'm just trying to show everybody that, at every level of the documentation to do with whatever they call taxes in your real estate taxes, right? That it's all simulated legal process done by attorneys pretending to be the government. And it's got to come to an end, and it could come to the end. It could come to an end if the township supervisor would just say, well, you know what? I am the township supervisor. I'm just going to call in the Army and let them figure it out. Right? They're telling me I can't do anything. Then it's an emergency. I got to make a phone call. It just seems to me calling in an emergency might make a bigger impact if it was coming from, the township supervisor than Dana Reed Smith. But if Dana Reed Smith needs to call, he'll be calling them in about the township supervisor. Hang on again, just 1 second. And there's one other glaring error in what they're doing, right? If you read this document, it says the purpose of this hearing is to allow persons with property interest to show cause why absolute title to the property forfeited by the county treasurer under 21178G should not vest in the foreclosing government unit, which, that is supposed to be the county treasurer. But it isn't. It's this private entity they made up. I'll show you that again. Yeah, forfeited by the county treasurer should not vest in the foreclosing government unit. Well, who's the foreclosing government unit? And that was, where was that thing? Petitioner, blank, treasurer, states as follows. This is supposed to be the petitioner's a foreclosing government unit. Well, what name did they put in there? Right on this one, they said it's the Kalkaska County Treasurer. So apparently the Kalkaska County Treasurer is not the same person as the county treasurer. Right? Because it was forfeited by the county treasurer to the Kalkaska County Treasurer. So anyways, it's just, errors upon errors upon errors. And we'll see where we go next week. But, yeah, we're not trying to get it dismissed. I know that people sent me a lot of things about, this and that. Getting into it. I'm not trying to get it dismissed, right? That could be done, but I'm not trying to do that. That'll come later. Right now, I'm trying to have them, fix the records, put Dana in the assessment books the way he's supposed to be. Dana Reed Smith. We're all supposed to be in the certified assessment role of the local government unit, and they're not putting us in there. And because of that, we're denied due process. And if it, takes calling in the sheriff to get the township supervisor to do it right, well, I'm okay with that. But I would hope he just do it on his own. And my final point I want to say is, whatever this is, wherever this record is, right, this is the thing that we want to say is ours. Because it's the thing, that's the interest holder, right? It's not in your name. It's not in your name backwards. It's not in anything. It's, in this block of text, whatever this is, you call it whatever you want, they call it the interest holder, right? So we want to claim, well, that's our property, right? We're the owner of the interest holder. So we got to find this file and see what's in it. And somebody has to know. So that's, be part of the uncovering this week. Okay. Y'all have a great day. See ya.